Okay, so welcome for the first talk on the subject that is probably the greatest challenge that most of us are facing during the lockdown, revolving around nutrition, and that is the subject of emotional eating. This is something that comes up in my practice all the time as a certified nutrition consultant. It's a very contentious topic. It can feel quite challenging and overwhelming to deal with, and really quite disempowering. Hey Paula. Hey Danielle. Let me switch to gallery. I think you guys are muted, which is actually good for the purpose of this. And then I guess other participants will simply be able to join as it goes. So I'm gonna take you through the subject of emotional eating gradually over the course of the next 4 lectures. Let me do this. And I'm gonna share with you some powerful distinctions which are going to make a difference into how you handle it, and some useful tips that you can start implementing right away so that you can feel more in control and less overwhelmed. I know how hard it is. I want to start with this. This is a topic and an issue that creates havoc in people's lives, and it is very, very common for it to get particularly aggravated during times such as this, which is critical, challenging times where we are facing issues that are way outside of the norm, and challenges that are way outside of the norm, and they come at us from very many different angles. So at the moment, the current circumstances mean that we're not simply dealing with things with the virus itself and with the pandemic itself, but many of us are also having to deal with a number of other issues which the pandemic is bringing up, including the seclusion, not being able to leave the house, not being able to maintain contact with our loved ones. Some of us are even dealing with work-related issues, working from home where you're stuck with your family members, or some of us sadly are having to deal with not being able to work at all. Many of us may have even sadly experienced a loved one getting sick, etc. So you can see that the spectrum of emotions that we are having to deal with at the moment is really bright. And so I want to start off this lecture by clarifying that if your eating has been affected by this variety of emotions that you've had to deal with during these difficult times, it doesn't mean that there is anything wrong with you. It's incredibly normal and to be expected, and almost unavoidable, especially to begin with, whilst you're in the first few weeks, whilst you're still trying to figure things out. So the first and most important step that anybody needs to take in order to be able to overcome emotional eating is to stop feeling bad about it and stop making yourself wrong for it. It is a very normal and natural thing to occur to us. It's a coping mechanism that is actually quite functional, because think about it, you could be doing way worse to cope with the stress and the trauma of the current circumstances. And if what you're choosing to do is seek comfort through food, it's actually not that bad. This is not to say that you should just accept it and do nothing about it, but the truth of the matter is that when you when you feel guilty for it, and when you make yourself wrong for it, and when you feel almost as if there was something wrong with you for not being able to avoid it, you are actually feeding the very same cycle of negative emotions that cause emotional eating to begin with. So let's take a moment, first and foremost, before we delve into what it is and what you can do, to just take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the nose, and let go of the guilt, the pain, the self-flagellation, and all the things that all the ways that you've been berating yourself for having somewhat, to whatever extent it has happened to you, felt like you lost control over your eating. It's the minimum that can be expected during these difficult times. So notice how in just releasing these emotions of guilt, of pressure, of feeling wrong, of feeling like there's something wrong with you, of feeling broken even. I've heard that word before. I feel broken. I feel like I'm missing something. You are already releasing some of the very negative emotions, which are inevitably going to lead you to seek comfort. And in this instance, seek comfort in food. I just wanted to clarify that as the starting point of this series, because I see it so much, and I've done it myself in the past, so I know that this is a very important and fundamental step.